Hi, this is Eric Thomas in the ODOT Office of Production, and I'm going to take a look at our ODOT Signs Visual Basic application. So to get started, from the ODOT menu, under Drafting Apps, I'll pick the Signs option. And before I go over the dialog, I want to give credit to Jack Kerstetter, who originally developed this application back in, I don't know how long ago, but he originally wrote this in Microstation Development Language, or MDL. And I also want to credit Beth Heimberger with developing all the cells used by the application. And then I got involved when we made the transition from V7 to V8. All of our MDLs needed to be recompiled for V8, and rather than recompile them, we elected to rewrite them in VBA. So we'll take a look at the VBA version that we're running today. Starting in the upper left is a list of categories for all the different sign categories. And then for each category, there's a drop-down menu of available signs. And the signs are split up in just, I guess, more manageable chunks of signs here by their sign name. And each group of signs is stored in a different cell library. So you can see with the directional category, the first group of signs, it's telling me right below there I have the cell library directional 01.cell selected. And then these are all the available sign cells in that cell library. So if I go to a different group of cells, again, there's the cells in directional 02. So let me go back to that first group, and I'm going to start with the very first sign, the D1-1, which is no longer used, so it is listed as obsolete. So with an obsolete sign, it can still be placed, but notice here on the right, the placement options, it can only be placed as existing. So that's just something that's triggered in the code. If I see the word obsolete in the name of the sign, I'm going to force it to be placed as existing. But if I pick this third sign over here under Place As, you can see I have 4 options. So signs can be placed as existing, proposed, removed, or relocated. So let's use that sign as an example and place that one. And I'll start with existing. And this sign has 2 entry regions, or 2 data entry regions. And you can see here there's a field 1 and field 2 that are available for me to key in text. Field 3, 4, 5, and 6 are ghosted. So the most entry regions that we'll ever find on an ODOT sign is 6. And if this particular sign had more regions, you would see these available for you to type in information. So let's put in some information for this sign. Oh, and I should mention that the fields are defined in the cells going from left to right, top to bottom. So field 1 will be the upper left, field 2, the next one going left to right, and then down the sign. Okay, so Columbus, 100 miles. I'm going to place that as existing. I'm not going to rotate it. There are a couple ways to rotate it. I can type in an angle here, or I can use the data point button and come over here and define an origin and an angle relative to that origin, and that will set my angle based on the 2 points. I'll leave that at an angle of 0 for now. And I have an option for the sign scale, and the scale affects 2 things, or there's 2 ways I should say to affect the scale. One is the sign cell itself, and the second is the text. Well, let me just place a sign first, and then I'll come back and place some more and get into that. So I'll pick the Place Sign by Data Point option, put it in the file where I want it, and this particular sign has an arrow that's associated with it, and there's 6 different arrow options, so I'll just pick the one that I need, and then it's automatically put on the sign. So that's using a scale of 20. If I bump my scale up to 50 and place the sign, it'll be 2.5 times the size of the previous one. So typically if I'm working on a 20 scale plan, I'll set that at 20, a 50 scale plan, I'll set that at 50. Now let's add this sign code label with it. So I'll check that option on. Now the labels are all handled by my model annotation scale. So the sign scale impacts only the sign cell graphic itself. It does not impact any text labels that go with the sign. So you can see up here in my annotation scale setting, I'm currently set to a 20 scale plan. All right, so I'm going to change this back to 20. And with Place Sign Code label toggled on, I'll put another sign out here. And since it's placing a label, this wants to know what is the size of this sign. Well, this particular size or this particular sign is available in a variety of sizes. So over here where I have the cell name and then the cell description, Beth has put in this one VAR or variable. So in the code, anytime I see VAR in the description, I know I need to prompt the user to enter a size. Now I don't know anything about signs or what sizes they come in, so I'm just going to enter 96 inches and hit OK. And again, that does not impact the size of the cell. The cell size is purely scaled here. So a variable size sign, it's just a representation of what the sign is, not the size of the sign. But with place sign code label toggled on this time, when I placed in a sign in the file, I'm also going to get this label with the name of the sign and the size. And again, that text size is controlled by my model annotation scale. So if I change my sign scale to 50 and my model annotation scale to 50, you'll see that text jump up because it was placed using annotation scale. But let me place another sign here at 50 scale. And then you see the text there appropriately scaled. So the reason these are split out in two different values is at 50 scale, these signs can take up a lot of space on your plan. If you have a very crowded plan, I've had users request, hey, is there any way I can make the sign a little smaller? I just want to leave the text at the appropriate size for my plan. So that's why this was set as a separate value. So I could bump this down maybe to 30 scale for the sign, leave my text at 50, and go ahead and place that sign in the file. And now you can see the sign itself is smaller in relation to the text. So that's how the different scaling options are used. And for moving here forward, I'm just going to take everything back to 20. And we'll place some more signs. Okay, some signs are set with a specific sizes that are available. Instead of variable, they're only available in certain sizes. Let's take a look at one of those examples. I think if I go to markers, or maybe regulatory, again, I'm not a sign expert. Yeah, that's why I wanted to stop sign. You'll see the name of the sign there, R1-1, and then over here in the description it has R1-1- and then a series of numbers. Those are the available sizes that this sign comes in. So if I want to place this sign in a file, I need to have the label on because the size is part of the label. So there's a drop-down menu of the sizes that are available. So again, the code is just looking at the cell description and it sees the format and it says, all right, I need to make a list of options available for the user, and then you can pick your size and place the sign in the file, and then the label contains the size of the sign. Okay, so that's existing for my stop sign. Let's go ahead and look at the other options. I'll place it as proposed. And when I'm placing it as proposed, this option to place the sign code label is ghosted out. When you're placing proposed, that's always required. So I'm not going to give you the option to turn it off. So let's go ahead and place a proposed sign. And you can see it's set just with a solid line on the outside, and the text is a weight 1 where the text was a weight 0 on the existing. And I should mention that the text uses my active text settings as far as the height and width and what text style is used. So if I look over here at my place text command, you can see my current text style is a slanted normal. So that's what was used there. If I wanted to use maybe a straight normal, I can just make that active, place another sign, and you can see it uses the straight font. Now the level the text goes to is hard-coded by the application. I'm sending that text to the SN_P_text, or existing I'm sending it to the SN_X text. The signs themselves also, the level is hard-coded, so that went to a public level for the stop sign, existing, and just a sign, proposed signs for the proposed. Okay, we also have an option for removed, and with that one I do have the option to use a label or not. And removed is just going to put a big red X on the sign. It's an existing sign that's being removed. And the last one is relocated. And when I go to relocated, there's a couple options here I haven't talked about yet. Relocated from station, maybe that was at station 10, and it's going to be relocated to station 10 plus 50. So I'll place that sign, and then it'll just tell me it relocated from station this to station that. I forgot to mention on all these signs of the different types, there's a station label here available for that, and that's optional if you wanted to include that or not for existing, proposed, removed. They all have a station label. So if I have a remove sign at station 15 plus 00, I can type that in, and then when I place it, it'll also include that information. Okay, signs can be placed relative to a geopack chain. So when I open the application, it actually goes out to look at the geopack. Is geopack active? If geopack's active, is the working directory defined? In the working directory, is there a GPK file? So if geopack's active and it finds a GPK file, this button, place sign by station offset, will be available. If you don't have geopack active when the application's run, that button will not be available to you. So I'll go ahead and click that on, and I can choose my job number and choose my chain that I want to place a sign relative to, and then key in the station and offset. Let me come over here where I've got some proposed information, and I'll show you how this would be used. So when I'm placing by station and offset, I need to either give a data point or key in a station. Now this is just where the symbol for the sign is going to go, not necessarily the sign itself. So you would have, the little sign symbol at the location of the sign, and then over here we'll show you what it is, and you draw an arrow to point to the sign location. So let's say a stop sign doesn't make any sense here. Let's maybe change to something else. I don't know signs, like I said. There we go. I'm not a sign expert. Let's say the minimum speed is 45, and that's the only field on that sign, and I'm going to worry about the station, and I'll go ahead and place that and accept it. Now you can see the rotation of that sign was controlled by the station and the offset. So stationing is running this way, positive to the right, so it's red facing up station. So if I went to the left, and let's say I want to put the sign right there into place, you can see it's rotated the other way. So it's red in the direction of traffic. Okay, I think the last thing I wanted to demonstrate, let me turn off the station offset, and I wanted to demonstrate the angle. So if I can key in an angle, or I can set it by a data point. So if I were just placing a sign over here, and that's the angle, now it's floating in my cursor, I can put it where I want it, and it's at the angle I set. So I think that's about all you need to get going with the application. It's pretty straightforward. I know occasionally we get requests from someone that says, hey, send me the cells for the existing signs, or send me the cells for the proposed signs. And that's one thing that we really don't have a cell for an existing sign specifically. You can see as I pick the signs, they're all a solid weight, even the ones that say obsolete, that are no longer used, that are placed only as existing. So when you're picking existing or removed in here, the application itself is what is building the cell. So it's going into the cell and changing it to be dashed. So there really isn't an existing cell per se. The application is what makes it existing or proposed. So I just thought I'd mention that. Of course, the application has a help icon that brings up a PDF document. So it just looks out in our standards folder to find the PDF, and opens that in Windows Internet Explorer. And PDF documentation should go over everything that I have talked about here in the video, or at least most of the stuff. And one of the things I want to mention is at the end of the documentation is just our contact information for the Office of Production. So if you have any questions or problems running the application, feel free to contact us. The best way to do it is just on the website from our suggestions page. So I guess that's it for this one. Thanks for watching and have a great day.